Russian planes reportedly dropped mines along Ukraine's safe corridor for grain ships. White House says Russia is executing its own soldiers for not following orders. Wagner veteran visits own grave after mistaken KIA report.
3 boilers caught fire at a thermal power plant in Moscow.
Switzerland to establish first legal cannabis dispensaries in Europe, amid pilot project. 55 kilograms of cocaine seized in diplomatic vehicle at Turkish-Bulgarian border, reportedly from Brazilian diplomatic envoy. U.S. government says it plans to go after legal goods tied to illegal fentanyl trade in new strategy. Resident Evil 4 remake nears the 5.5 million sales mark according to Capcom, with Street Fighter 6 sales coming in hot. Comcast swings to profit in Q3 on theme parks, wireless, while Peacock losses narrow.
IDF claims Gaza resident says Hamas preventing evacuations, thousands return north. Israel blames Egypt for Iran missiles, releases satellite images of secret military base near Cairo. 7th person with connections to Canada killed in Israel-Hamas hostilities, 2 still missing, Global Affairs says. In Turkey, the Ministry of Family surrendered Yazidi child, ISIS family, to which kidnapped her and allegedly sold. Sweden will not expel man behind recent Quran-burning demos despite deportation order. 3 months ago, Sweden was re-examining residency permit of Iraqi refugee who burned Quran copy.
Weekend marriages where couples live separately gain popularity in Japan. Young Europeans more likely to quit driving and have fewer children to save planet. Majority across Germany supports for a ban on private New Year's Eve fireworks, not just in Leipzig. Billionaire Ken Griffin Citadel Securities denies ridiculous claim that a tank Duke wants terraform. Yuga Labs, awarded $1.5 million in light of Bored Ape Yacht Club trademark infringement. UK bill for seizing illicit crypto finally becomes law. Crypto king of FTX tells judge he acted on legal advice. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried testifies outside juries presents as judge decides what he can say. Bankrupt crypto exchange FTX moves large amounts of crypto to other exchanges. NHL Senators Pinto to be suspended 41 games for violating NHL gambling rules. Newcastle United player Sandro Tonali to miss the rest of the season and Euro 2024 after 10 months banned for betting breaches. First ever Florida Man Games will feature beer belly wrestling and evading arrest obstacle course. NBA great Jason Kidd becomes part owner of USL's Oakland Roots.
Russia says it will build close ties with North Korea in all areas. Zakharova reported that Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Galuzin met with the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran. Slovakia announces the end of military aid to Ukraine.
Josep Borrell after Orban's speech, no one obliges Hungary to be a member of the European Union. Sinn Féin to bring United Ireland pitch to European capitals. In Germany, nationwide raids target neo-Nazi music scene. Spanish wealth in tax havens breaks record of 140 billion euros.
China's top economic official for a decade, former Chinese Premier Li Keqiang, sidelined by Xi, dies at 68. Narayana Murthy says India's work culture must change, says youngsters should work 70 hours a week. Ireland very much at limit of how many refugees it can accommodate, Taoiseach Varadkar says. Non-Irish citizens are 12% of population, census shows. Donald Trump Jr. blames FBI for Maine shootings. Judge strikes down recent NYC rules, restricting gun licensing is unconstitutional. Judge says Georgia's congressional and legislative districts are discriminatory and must be redrawn.
In Canada, medically assisted death growth steady as number of practitioners grows before expansion. In 2024, Amazon's virtual health clinic can now treat patients for a cough, cold or flu. 3 people were gene-edited in an effort to cure their HIV. The result is unknown.
Unprecedented diarrheal outbreak erupts in UK, as cases spike 3 times above usual. In Ireland, rise in travel-related cryptosporidium cases prompts warning. 1 month ago in New Zealand as well. Genetic link uncovered between endometriosis, the growth of tissue similar to uterus tissue lining outside of uterus, and gut disorders.
Weighted blankets improve sleep in children with ADHD, study shows. Youngest children in class with ADHD is likely to keep diagnosis in adulthood as older pupils, find scientists. People with autism less likely to succumb to bystander effect, York University father-son research duo finds.
Megafauna, large animal extinctions in the late Quaternary, are linked to human range expansion, not climate change. Just stop oil spray orange powder over replica of the world's biggest ever dinosaur at the Natural History Museum. Fungal evolution discovered, Mycena can now invade living hosts.
Pittsburgh among best cities in United States to be a vampire. Woman experiencing rustling noises, has spider and its exoskeleton removed from her ear.
Google Maps is getting new AI-powered search updates, an enhanced navigation interface and more. Amazon's new generative AI tool lets advertisers enhance product images. Boston Dynamics turned its robot dog into a talking tour guide with ChatGPT.
Google to run internet cables to Pacific Islands. In Australia, US deal. Vocus selected as partner of choice for Google to deliver a new submarine cable system connecting Australia to the United States via the South Pacific. Amazon's virtual health clinic can now treat patients for a cough, cold or flu.
PlayStation 5 supply issues finally fixed after 3 years, says Sony, and sees a really strong holiday for PlayStation 5 sales. Spider-Man 2 is a big reason. Valve officially releases Steam VR 2.0. Even more than GTA 3, Skyrim proved to the world that open-world games were the place to be, says Bethesda's former developer. Privacy advocate challenges YouTube's ad blocking detection scripts under EU law. Douyin, TikTok in China. Beauty sales hit $13.60 billion in first 3 quarters of 2023. The UK's controversial online safety bill finally becomes law. Michigan House passes ban on gay and trans panic defenses, which are violent crimes against non-heterosexual individuals, because of an alleged unwanted sexual advance from them. Dismay, as South Korea upholds military sodomy law for 4th time and Constitutional Court upholds punishment of soldiers for homosexual acts. ECB Governing Council decided to keep the 3 key ECB interest rates unchanged. Yellen says U.S. GDP is a good strong number, may keep bond yields higher, as the yield surge is due to strong economy, not deficits. U.S. economy glows red hot with a 4.9% GDP reading for the 3rd quarter. Canada to pause carbon tax on home heating oil for 3 years. 95% of Russia-China bilateral trade is in rubles and RMB. London Metropolitan Holdings aims to major project in Malaysia. Xiaomi unveils Xiaomi HyperOS, a human-centric operating system designed and tailored to connect personal devices, cars, and smart home products in a smart ecosystem. Xiaomi announces Xiaomi 14 series, Xiaomi HyperOS, and other AI products in Beijing launch event. Xiaomi 14 Pro debuts with new variable aperture camera, hardware upgrades and optional titanium model. Qualcomm will use both Samsung Foundry and TSMC to fabricate Snapdragon chips. Apple to sell low-cost 12-inch and 13-inch MacBooks for $700 or less. Qualcomm focuses on local packaging of AI PC chips in India with Tata Group.
U.S. fighter jets strike to Iran-linked sites in Syria, in retaliation for attacks on U.S. troops. Reportedly, no consensus yet among Iraqi armed groups on joining Israel-Hamas war. 19 U.S. troops have traumatic brain injury after drone attacks in Iraq and Syria.
Xu Ekigan becomes first Chinese scientist to win top international physics award. Asteroid orbiting Earth is a chunk of the moon, says new study. Chinese fighter jet got within 10 feet, 3 meters of U.S. bomber over South China Sea, U.S. military says. In Taiwan, former colonel gets 20 years for spying for China. In Canada, O'Toole says CSIS warned him he'd still be targeted by Beijing after leaving politics, and Canada's been a frog in boiling water on Chinese interference. Boeing loses $1.6 billion on fewer deliveries of airliners and higher costs for Air Force One, as Boeing has now lost more than $1 billion on each of the president's 2 new jets for Air Force One. Volvo to expand X30 SUV production to Ghent plant. Fiat Fastback Abarth is a souped-up version of the SUV that costs 159,990 Rial. BP boosts EV charging network with $100 million order of Tesla ultra-fast chargers. Ford hits the brakes on $12 billion in EV spending because EVs are too expensive. Mercedes-Benz shares fall 6% as profit falls. Its CFO complains about brutal EV pricing. Nissan isn't going to electrify its pickup trucks anytime soon. The Beatles to release emotional final song, named Now and Then. Taylor Swift releases re-recorded 1989, Taylor's version, album, and Taylor Swift vaults into billionaire ranks with blockbuster Eras tour. BTS's V-Stalker, arrested by police. New Looney Tunes movie The Day the Earth Blew Up coming from Warner Bros. GFM Animation. Keira Knightley to star in dystopian sci-fi conception in which the government has taken control over parenting. Fortitude launching for AFM. Fantastic Beasts director says franchise has been parked by Warner Bros.
In Malaysia, Education Ministry defends Palestinian Solidarity Week for schools, colleges. France to deliver 54 tons of humanitarian aid to Gaza. Qatar sentences 8 Indian Navy veterans to death for spying for Israel.